All okay? Okay? Then good morning, everybody. My name is Folke Engholm, and I'm the founder of ViralAccess, which is Asia's leading Micro-KOL company. And today we're going to be talking about China, social media, KOLs, which are key opinion leaders here in China, and of course Micro-KOLs. And more importantly, how we can use these in order to succeed in today's business environment. And since we have been working for quite a long time with both Daniel Wellington and Spotify, I'm also going to try to show how they have used these in order to implement this in a good way. But before we jump into that discussion, I just want to have a short brief about myself. I came to China for the first time in the year 2003. As I was doing my bachelor thesis, I was just granted with a scholarship to go to a university in Beijing, Tsinghua University. But actually my first encounter with China was actually way back as '98, as I was doing my bachelor thesis for a company called Bingolotto, that you all might know about, doing their market entry strategy for China. So having this said, I think I've had this fascination for China probably all my life and doing business in China. But the year 2006 was actually the first year I started up my first company here. So I had the luxury, though, to see this ultra-rapid growth firsthand and see this change that we've all witnessing. And I think change is really going to be the essence of this conversation that we're having today. China and the world has changed rapidly, and we haven't paid much attention. I remember I saw a speech, not very different from this one, maybe a little bit bigger though. And the speaker asked the audience how many of them could name the Chinese chairman or the Chinese president. And a very few people raised up their hand proudly, knowing what could be maybe the most, or one of the most important men on the planet now. And I remember also this was like a year after the previous Summer Olympics, when the Swedish national team proudly walking in with a national flag representing their country, sponsored though by a Chinese brand. I don't know if you remember that brand, but well, that's not too relevant. So anyway, the speaker continues to ask the audience if they could name five Chinese sports brands. Quiet like this, nobody raising up their hands. So we had to change the question, asking, could anybody name 5 Chinese companies, all categories? And I think after a couple of minutes, the crowd, full of business professionals, were able to pull the task off. So I think you know where I'm getting at. How can we prepare ourselves for the future if we know nothing about the people who we're up against? And again, for you guys that read business, this is really your like AO1, the SWOT analysis, the competitive analysis. But for some reason, we have neglected this when it comes to China. And when I came to China 2006, of course the world looked different, so did China. And definitely did Shenzhen when I moved there. Shenzhen, still today, a city very much unheard of, even though its GDP is expected to surpass the Swedish GDP at the end of this year, and has probably been the fastest growing city for decades now. I remember at that time also, Ericsson was still the global leading telecommunication company. And even though they had a Chinese competitor on the horizon, people didn't pay much attention to them, left. Now Huawei is 3 times the size of Ericsson, and Shenzhen built more skyscrapers than the entire US did together last year. And we still don't know about the city. But coming back to change, and what we call locally Shenzhen speed, because that's actually what it's all about, speed. The world and China has, during a short period of time, changed dramatically. And it's been very difficult, not to say impossible, to adapt on all levels. And the field that we're in didn't even exist. Facebook just launched their social media app, and we basically work with bloggers or bloggare, which would be the closest thing to what we're doing today. And today, nobody is really questioning the fact that we're becoming more and more digitalized or questioning the internet like we did before. However, the question that we're asking ourselves, where's my position in this transition? And what can I and my company do in order to continue staying relevant? And I think this is really the million-dollar question here. And I think what we all do need to realize that we all need to change and adapt on all levels. This is not an isolated transition that we're seeing that is only affecting a small parts of your business. No, this is having an impact on all levels of your business, whether you like it or not. Social media has alone revolutionized how we communicate and interact with each other. So the companies must integrate those tools in the way they communicate with their existing as well as potential clients. Unfortunately, I'm seeing that this realization and acceptance is going way too slow. I remember I was asking Philip one day during our period of constant exponential growth, how many people of your company do you have solely dedicated to social media? And at that time, I think they had around 70 people, and he responded, I think there were around 40 to 50 of those were only working with social media and what we call today influencer marketing or Micro-KOLs. And today, I'm happy if I meet a company that has a digital marketing manager. Super surprised if they come with a social media manager. The normal response that they would give me is that, well, that's our digital marketing guy that handles the social media. So then my response would be, okay, so you're telling me you're having a 0.5 person handling more than 5 different vital platforms for your business. Is this correct? Yeah, that's correct. Okay, I think you all hear how crazy that sounds, right? Wellington has more than 60% of their staff only working with social media and Micro-KOL marketing. And they became the fastest growing accessory brand in the world, selling 3 times as many watches as Rolex do per year. And they're like 5, 6 years old. So if there's one thing I think all companies need to realize and understand is that you need to have a digital strategy, a social media strategy, and also the same for China. And today also, just to prove my point here, Wellington has more than almost around 100 people in China alone only working with social media and Micro-KOLs down in Shenzhen. So without asking you directly, you can just question and ask yourselves, how many people do we have specialized in this for China alone? Wellington and Spotify are both 2 companies that has this very clearly, and both are leaders in their specific fields. And on top of this strategy and planning, there's also a need for a shift from the media spending, going from the traditional media to the new. Unfortunately, also I'm seeing that this acceptance and realization is going way too slow. The social media resource allocation is also still way too low. And the same goes for micro-influencers or influencer marketing. Today, we spend most of our times with our cell phones. Basically, all of us are connected to at least one social media platforms. But this is not reflected in how companies today use these tools to communicate with their customers. So what we do, what ViralAccess does, is actually working with the oldest and the most strongest form of marketing, which is the personal recommendation. We all do it. We go to our friends and family to ask for an advice before buying a product. Or maybe going to a third-party platform like TripAdvisor, reading about some reviews from a Carlos from Spain, talking about how he likes or doesn't like a hotel, having this total stranger affecting your purchasing decision. The difference between this and with the Micro-KOL is that the Micro-KOL has a way more close relationship to their followers. than you have with mystery callers from Spain on TripAdvisor. Meaning they tend to listen way more than, or tend to engage way more than you do for callers. And these micro-KOLs also have genuine followers who like them and like what they do. And we don't really have to understand the logic behind this, but we do need to understand and realize that this is the fact and how we can capitalize on it. The world's best paid YouTuber is actually a Swedish guy who plays and talks about video games. How come are so many people interested in listening and seeing to a guy playing video games? And to be honest, I don't understand that part either. What I do get is that if I'm launching a video game, I would like this guy to play that video game and talk about it on his YouTube channel. And why? Because he's authentic and credible. And this is what we are selling. We're selling this authenticity and credibility. And this was also something that Daniel Wellington realized and capitalized on. They were able to connect with thousands of these micro-KOLs all over the world, having them genuinely talking about their brand. ViralAccess alone connected Daniel Wellington to more than 10,000 of micro-KOLs in Asia. And today we work with around 3,000 micro-KOLs per month organically for our existing clients. And I know this number seems astronomical for most companies since they barely started to work with this powerful source. At the most, they've started to work with a few influencers, 10 to 15 or normal KOLs, that we would normally define almost like a celebrity. So having this said, we make a big distinction from what is a KOL and what is a micro-KOL. The normal influencer or the normal KOL, the key opinion leader here, for us is like this celebrity guy. The guy that you can Google. It's pretty easy to find. These KOLs normally has big follower bases, maybe ranging from 1 million up. The micro-KOLs, on the other hand, those are your neighborhood celebrities that nobody knows about and have way smaller follower bases. However, these follower bases tend to be more interacting and more engaging compared to a normal KOL. So for me, putting your money on a micro-KOL versus a normal KOL, the value for that money goes for sure for the micro-KOL. And that's basically for 3 reasons. You're paying a big premium for the KOL, him being a celebrity. Secondly, you're paying for a huge follower base that for most part might not be totally relevant for your product. And 3, you're paying a premium for a less engaging audience. Then the question is, why does companies and people still work more with KOLs compared with micro-KOLs? If they cost more money and create less impact? Well, the response to that is because it's easy. Working with hundreds or even thousands of micro-KOLs per month for a company requires huge amount of resources and know-how. And that's not something that your 0.5 social media guy can handle by himself. And thus, this is also something that Daniel Wellington knew and executed very well. So if there's 3 things I would say making Daniel Wellington successful, I would say that they had a clear digital and social media strategy and focused heavily on micro-KOL marketing. Second, they allocated resources to this and scaled this method up to previously unseen proportions. And 3, they understood e-commerce and connected social media and micro-KOL to a B2C solution. What also connects Spotify and Daniel Wellington with Micro-KOL marketing is also how we use this for brand awareness. Daniel Wellington is today more well known than IKEA, H&M, and even Ericsson, companies way bigger than Daniel Wellington, and have been in China even for Ericsson, more than 100 years. And I would say the sole reason for this is only Micro-KOL marketing. And going back to Spotify again, which has a little bit more complex product, we have a more of an educational approach how we work with them, creating something that we call premium awareness. And even though for both of these companies we do create conversions as well as brand awareness, we have also come up with the thing that we know that we create positive brand awareness and a positive branding impact. And another thing that is also well known, that using Micro-KOLs, we have also shown that we have a tendency to change the attitudes positively towards a brand, which is also, of course, very important for your brands. And in today's, more ad-resisting environment, where we get fed with thousands of brand messages on a daily basis, Micro-KOLs also has been proven as a very effective tool breaking through that noise. And the good thing with Micro-KOLs is as well that the impact, regardless if it's branding ROI or if it's sales ROI, is that it's instant. So regardless if you're a new brand, like Daniel Wellington was when we first launched it in Asia, or if you're Spotify, we have been proven that it can be used as a positive way to create positive brand awareness. And another thing when it comes to Spotify, we have also shown that how we can systematically work with the company in order to bring out their message. And I think this is also the core of branding and marketing, which is this, like the ability to repeatedly communicate the brand's message without diluting the brand. And this is something that we can do communicating through these micro-influencers with their isolated circles. So we can do this in a very impactful way. What we can also do is not only have a very targeted way to choose which target groups we want to target for our product, we can also distribute that reach over a period of time in a very detailed and specific way, which is of course also very important. So finally, I also think it's important to mention, or I hope I have shown at least, how we can use these Micro-KOLs in order to bring or enhance your company's brand equity and at the same time, earn money. And I think Micro-KOL, it should not and cannot replace your entire marketing portfolio, but I think it should have a natural place in all modern companies in their marketing portfolios if they want to be successful in this new millennial era. So that's basically it for me. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in Swedish or English.